Hi everyone, welcome back to Listen Up with Simran and Isha, where we dive into real conversations about life, personal growth, and everything in between. Today, we have an exciting episode lined up for you, so turn up the volume and listen up.
Welcome back to Listen Up with Sim and Isha. And today we're going to talk all about a topic which nobody really likes to talk about, which is loneliness and our journey from loneliness and feeling like we're alone to feeling like we're enough, which is our solitude. And I was just discussing with Isha before we got on about the idea of Bollywood romance and love, Isha, right? Like, what will we talk about?
Oh my God, the ideology कि वो एक जो मेरे लिए बना है मुझे उसे ढूंढना है. Where is my one? Like that idea that is put in your head by
Yeah.
Bollywood. So when you're alone, you feel if you don't have your one with you, you're not enough. And I don't think that's
Mm,
right. You can be
I know,
enough
right?
without anybody. You are enough in yourself. I think ये
Yeah.
ideology जो Bollywood ने डाल दी है, that is too much.
First of all, we have Bollywood. Second of all, we are 90s kids. Means we grew up with Yash Raj and Karan Johar
Correct.
and all this information telling us कि कहीं ना किसी के हमारे लिए कोई बना है which will come and find us. And we live our lives in this crap, basically. And I'm not saying it's bad or good, but definitely that idea is so ingrained into us कि there is somebody, there's one person out there and you have to find where you belong, kind of, you know.
Yeah.
Growing up, I never knew that somebody looked at someone and went, wow, okay, she's going on a solo trip. Wow, that's so amazing. Nobody would
Yeah.
say that.
True.
Like growing up, if you see an auntie go on a solo trip, then your mom would be like, yeah, pagal hai wo. You know? I don't think she would be like, wow, you know, she's adventurous, she's doing this for herself. I feel like loneliness is something which we don't really talk about enough, but in our 20s,
Hmm.
it can get really lonely. Really, really lonely. Right? Yeah.
Yeah, when life hits you in the throes, when actually life happens to you, you get
Yeah.
lonely. This is one
Mhm.
part of growing up that is not spoken about, one part of growing up that is not taught about. People don't guide you on this. Everybody's dealt with this in
Mhm.
their own way, but I think loneliness it's a heavy word even to begin with, like you were saying in the
Yeah.
beginning. It's a heavy word when we think about it. When I go back to myself and thinking about stories when I was genuinely lonely, there are sometimes it's a day, sometimes there are months, periods in my life where I
Mm.
felt that. And it's not just because I don't have a partner. Sometimes even with the partner, you could be
Mm.
in a situation where you felt lonely. How sad
Mhm.
is that? That one is not
Yeah.
solving anything for you. Then that is the idea that I
Yeah.
realized. Ki, you have somebody to talk to also, but still you can be lonely.
Yep. It's honestly, as you said it, I'm like, yeah, that has happened to me too. And I completely get what you're saying because sometimes you could even be surrounded by people and still feel lonely. Like nobody understands you. Nobody really sees you or sees what you are in or what you're going through. I was living in Milan. I was by myself. I was 4 years there. And I completely remember there was a time, this was one year, where all my friends who were we had finished uni, so some of my friends had gone back to their hometown. Some were still there in Milan, but like they were doing their jobs or whatever it is. And everyone around me seems to be in either with their family or with a boyfriend or a girlfriend or with like I felt like I was the only one who didn't have anyone, you know?
Yeah,
And it
I
was kind
know.
of weird because at first nobody likes to be alone, like nobody I didn't like that I didn't have anyone. And I felt like am I such a loser, like a loner, that I don't have anyone, like that was the feeling.
I
And
know.
even when and coming to what you said, like I was, even if I dated guys who were just not probably the right guys or the people who connected with me, I
Yeah.
still felt lonely. So even though I
Yeah.
went out on dates or I met people, I was still like, I still feel so alone,
Yeah.
where I
I
am.
know.
Yeah.
How do you move on with that? Like when you are actually in that moment, I know it's hard. It's hard hitting
Yeah.
to even accept it sometimes. How do you
Mm.
move along with that? Like how do you find ways to cope with it? I think to each its own, what everybody is doing.
Mm.
To me, I think I have learned things about myself the most in those times. Things that I used to do,
Mm-hmm.
love doing as a kid. I went back to those things most in those times. I found
Mm-hmm.
myself again when I was lonely, which is a
Yeah.
new outlook that I have on loneliness now. that my loneliness
Mm.
is not all sad. It has led to creativity. It has finally transitioned into solitude where I genuinely, now I
Oh,
look forward to me time. Now I look forward to, okay, where is my
yeah,
time? I need that bracket. So it's taken
absolutely.
a while to build that, but yeah, it's finally getting to a point where I love spending my time with myself. Even self pampering
Yeah.
sometimes, just reading
Mm.
out your affirmations, journaling, so many techniques that I've used while I felt that, and they've helped me
Mm.
cope with my loneliness. What about you? What are some of the things that you did for yourself when you were in Milan?
I like that. I like what you said because it was the similar kind of awakening for me. Because I think, like we discussed, nobody prepares you for the loneliness you'll feel. Nobody tells you that, it's gonna get lonely. You're not gonna have even if you have friends, sometimes they're not on the same page as you. You don't connect with them.
True,
Maybe you lose some friendships, you lose lovers, you lose family sometimes, even. There are so many things that you go through. And because everyone is doing their own thing, and there is no timeline, like we discussed in our previous episode, there's no timeline. So you and your friend may have started together like 3 years ago, but somewhere down the line, maybe she did things differently and you did things differently. So you all kind of grew apart because you no longer connect with that person.
I know.
So I feel like that was these feelings that I was feeling. And obviously, at first, I was just like feeling like a loser. But then I realized that, okay, probably this is kind of like a gift also from,
Yeah,
for me, from the universe, that maybe the reason why it was so hard for me to be by myself is because I was constantly depending on other people for what I needed. I was constantly depending on another person for validation, another person to fill my life with
yeah.
something to do,
To
or
fill your
another
cup.
person to fill my cup.
Yeah,
Exactly. I was not filling my own cup. I was only feeling good if somebody else thought I was good. I was only feeling
mm,
beautiful if somebody else thought I was
that
beautiful.
was beautiful.
I was s- basically, kind of, in a way, I was okay losing myself in others, in other things, in jobs, and places, and people. When everything was alone, when suddenly there is this silence, that you're left with. And in that silence, you really are like, okay, it's a Sunday. I have nobody to go to. I'm alone. What do I do? Like, what is my life? And that is where the hard reality, or the questions that you don't want to ask yourself, those questions start coming out. And that's why it's so uncomfortable. So I think for
Yeah.
me, the first process was like, it was kind of like a gift in disguise because I got to really spend time with myself. And I
Mm.
started being okay with doing things by myself. Believe it or not, have you done this? I had never gone to a movie theater and watched a movie alone. Like, never.
I have.
And
I
I,
have recently
yeah,
done this. I was so happy when I did that. It was
I'm so
so
proud of you. I'm
liberating.
so
It was
proud.
so liberating. Like I went for a movie. I was
Yeah,
and I was planning like for days. I did not get any
yeah,
friends who wanted to come. They were not free.
yeah,
Not match timings. I was like, okay,
yeah.
I want to see the movie. I am someone who loves movies. Let's go. I did that very recently, but I
Same.
loved it.
So like the same thing, like, but that time I didn't love it. At that time I was like kind of still
Scared.
like trying to find my happiness with being by myself.
Hmm.
So there was a movie, I'm a huge nerd, and there was a Marvel movie coming out at that time. I'm a nerd. I wanted to go watch it in the theater because it wasn't going to come on Netflix for a long time. This is, I'm like talking 5 years ago. And that
Yeah.
time there was no OTT, not as fast as what it is today, right? So I was like, I really want to go watch this movie. And there was nobody wanting to watch it with me. And I'm like, oh my God, what do I do? Like, so I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to book a ticket. I'm going to go for the movie and I'm going to watch it. And the movie was 45 minutes away because I lived in Milan, where all the theaters are Italian. Like they convert all the movies, even the English movies, to Italian. So I didn't want to watch my Marvel movie in Italian. I wanted to watch it in English, like with proper English, graphics. So I traveled 45 minutes by the metro by myself, went and watched the movie. And I remember in the first 15 minutes looking around in the theater that is anybody thinking like that I'm a weirdo. And then after like 15 minutes, I'm like, you know what? the movie started, I started watching it and I forgot. Like I actually forgot after a
I
point.
know.
And then I spent a really nice day. I had popcorn. I love movie popcorn, like PVR popcorn. Like I love popcorn. And I had the best day. Like one of the best days I've had in Milan was going and watching that movie and making like a whole day out of it. And I only
Yeah,
left feeling like, why was I so scared? Like, why was I judging myself,
I
for
know.
doing it by
You
myself?
know,
You know?
it's usually said that we judge ourselves more than anybody else around us, and that's a fact. It
Yeah.
was just
Yeah.
me being worried, okay, can I go for a movie alone? How do I plan this movie? But eventually, when I got
Yeah.
into it and when I went, I had a good time. And when I was coming
Yeah.
back from the movie, I remember I was so happy that I did,
Yeah.
because that
Yeah.
made me feel like, okay, there can be moments where I am just, I just don't even need anybody to find that happiness for me. It was such, and that feeling like comes to you in layers. Like one day it hits you, and
Mhm.
then few days on, like we're discussing today, I'm again going back to
Mhm.
that happy feeling that I was very happy just being with myself at that time. So that comes
Mhm.
in, I don't know, layers, and like as and when we are discussing, it's making me feel very happy right now that I am comfortable now in my own skin, if I want to say. I'm
Yeah.
comfortable
Yeah.
just being there, not pretending to
Yeah.
do anything, but just being with myself. Like that thought is
Yeah.
such a huge thought in my head now.
Even for me. And I think that really changed a lot for me because then I was like, you know what, Sim, you can do things alone. There's nothing
Yeah,
wrong with doing things alone. And then I started kind of like taking myself out to cafes alone, which was also hard at the beginning because I'm like, what do I do at a cafe? But I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take a book. I'm going to sit. Sometimes I used to take my laptop and work there. And then it eventually started becoming like a me time thing. And I realized
yeah,
I really enjoy spending time with myself. I really enjoyed doing my thing, having my goals, having my, stuff to work on, or even just being with myself, asking, like journaling sometimes, things like
self
that, like where
check-ins.
self check-ins. I used to do self check-ins. I have this self-love book, like it's a free
Yes,
guide,
yes,
journaling guide on my page. You can obviously go check it out. And I do that, I journal all the time because it makes me feel good about myself and I can process things, instead of just like sometimes for me journaling has really helped as well. So yeah, like all these things kind of I won't say immediately I was okay being alone, obviously,
mm,
because I don't think it was like that, but I think slowly I realized, A, I didn't have a choice. B,
yeah,
because I didn't have a choice, either I could cry about it and be sad about it, or I could just accept that, what, this is where I am, so let me just use this to learn about myself more and really
yeah.
fall in love with myself. Like what do I like about myself, what do I not like about myself,
I know what you mean. So I think for me, again, like you are saying, falling in love with myself is something that I've done in these times mostly, because there are things that I used to do as a kid. I loved doing them as a kid, and I just stopped doing them when I grew. And now,
Oh,
when I've actually put in situations where I don't have anybody, I go back to those activities. Could be painting or coloring. To me, it's
yeah.
dancing. Like, I love dancing. I'm somebody who loves to
Oh,
flow on the rhythm. And so I'll
oh,
just play my 20 songs playlist one after the other and just dance it out. Dance my heart out and
oh.
just have a great time, like a party of one. It is such a
Mhm.
blessing to do that. And like, people go to clubs, and I love, okay, going to clubs, it's okay, I get it, you enjoy there with friends. But when you don't have that, like, you don't have the resource to go, or you don't have friends to go around with, you can still enjoy the activity that you do there, right? Dancing, I love
Mhm.
dancing, so why not do it with yourself? That's just one
Mhm.
thought, and it clicked to me, and I just started doing it. Sometimes I do it
Yeah.
today as well. Like in the week when I'm not feeling like doing a workout, I'll just do my
Mhm.
dance routine of 40-45
Yeah.
minutes and just call it a workout. I have a day, make a fun day out of it. So that is my,
Yeah.
way of turning my small loneliness moments into solitude, into moments of just pure joy and bliss.
I love that. I think because there's so much strength in that. Like if you can be by yourself, you
Yeah,
can do anything.
true.
If you can be at peace with the voices in your head, if you can just be at peace with yourself, like you can literally do anything. And you no
Yeah.
longer need things or places or people. You choose now what you want in your life. You allow things in. This is a very different way, that you start looking at things, because you realize that however bittersweet it sounds, you come alone and you die alone and you go alone. Like you're going to be born
True.
alone and you're going to die alone. And
True.
it's a very singular journey at a very, at a broader perspective. But I feel like this is something which, 20s are something which a lot of people deal with, this kind of loneliness and this, I mean, it can easily put you also in a negative headspace. It can
Of
easily make you
course.
depressed as well,
Hmm.
So I won't say that I was not low many times and I was not, I've had a lot of low periods as well. Like, have you felt like that as well with like loneliness?
I have. Like, okay, not everything is all rosy always. There is always a
Yeah.
side to it which is not so bright. And since we are having
Mhm.
that conversation, I've had those days where I've not felt like talking to anyone and not doing the things that
Yeah.
even feed me, like feed my soul
Mhm.
that way. So on those days, I give myself space, grace rather, to stay
Mhm.
in it, to give myself time to wallow and then
Mhm.
eventually get up. Like I don't push myself on those days, especially that no, you have to get up. No, I don't. Give yourself grace periods
Yeah.
also, na. Like allow yourself.
Yeah.
सबको allow करते हो यार तुम उसको भी बोलते हो ठीक है यार he's not doing well कोई बात नहीं I understand
Mhm.
myself I'm not doing well today I understand so that is also
Mhm.
something I've learned here कि ठीक है यार I'm giving myself permission to feel sad it's okay but
Yeah.
you'll feel better
Yeah.
tomorrow. So that is what my idea of dealing with these periods is. There are tough days where you just don't feel like it. Also, my way of dealing with this is I take a nap. Like I don't want to listen to my head. I'll just go to sleep.
Sleep on it, like
Yeah,
sleep on
sleep on
it.
it.
Or like my mom will be like, kal dekhenge, like
कल
soja kal
देखेंगे हाँ.
dekhenge. This is, even though it's such a simple thing, it's honestly such a right thing, because I feel like sometimes, the reason they say it, not because you just have to sleep on it, the reason they say it is because it gives you that time, to kind of recover, and you're no longer acting from emotion. You have processed the emotion and now you are not acting up, you're not reacting, you're
Responding,
responding
yes.
from like a more better place. So you're not just reacting in your emotions, you're responding from what feels correct to you and aligned to you. So sleep on it is like the best advice. I think for me also, it kind of helps, like in some way. I feel like when I'm going through all this, when I listen to other people, that's why I think the reason why I started Brown Boss Babes, which is my online community, is because I just felt like I needed to know more people who were in the same place or have been in the same place and would like support. So for me, it really works also supporting each other and supporting, people in this process. So I remember like a funny story that when I was in Milan and I was going through this period where I was kind of depressed actually, and I had a work dinner with my colleagues. And we all went out, and they're not really my friends. They're work colleagues. They're like 4, 5 people. And in Milan, they have something called aperitivo, which is kind of like a happy hour where you get
Okay.
like one drink and some food, and it's all inclusive, like at like €9 or something like that. Now the thing is that when all went for it, there was so much food left because we were not eating that much food. And I remember it was raining really badly. We were out, we were eating, drinking, and across the street there was this woman who was probably old and homeless, and she was just like lying there, and it just clicked to me. I had like a plate full of food which nobody was eating. So while talking to my colleagues and we were just talking, I just got up instinctively and went and gave her the plate of food, and I came back, and it took me like 2 minutes to do that. And when I came back, all my colleagues looked at me like I was Mother Teresa or something like that. Like they were just like, wow, like, you're so kind and you're so but the truth is, I was very lonely at that point in my life. And for some reason, her loneliness connected with my loneliness. And I felt like maybe if I can help her, somebody will help me. And that's how you pay it
True.
forward.
So when you're actually in the throes, when you're actually in a sad time, help someone who
Hmm.
needs you, who is like in more need than you. It works
Hmm.
two ways. One, you see someone who's not having it good either, you don't feel alone again. Okay, he's also not in
Yeah.
a good space, I'm also not one that way. And you help someone. Obviously, you help someone and makes you feel good about yourself. So it works two ways, I
Yeah.
think. There's a theory behind this that so what you did, you may not know this theory, but it's actually a theory that if you're not feeling good about something or you're not feeling in a good headspace, just go and help someone in need. You'll start feeling better.
Hmm.
It works like that.
And I think that's what even finding peace with your loneliness is about. You learn so
True.
much about yourself. I don't
Oh,
think anything in my life has taught me any as much as being alone. I think
being
being
alone,
alone
yes.
really teaches you a lot about yourself, about life, about dealing with situations. So yeah.
To this day, I will say it's not that it's not scary today. Also, like I'm not saying that I don't. I can just live my life alone. That is not the statement that I want to make. I'm okay with being with myself. I think it's not lonely anymore. It's I'm okay with okay with being with myself. If that makes
Mhm.
sense more. It's not
Oh yes,
loneliness.
that makes sense. I love
Yeah,
what you said. So that it's basically solitude because it's no longer a curse that you have to be alone. Like
exactly.
it's a choice now. You can be in
That's
a
right.
healthy relationship, healthy family, everything or whatever, and be like, you know what, I want to take 2 days off by myself. I'm going to go take a
Yeah,
trip or I'm going to go to a cafe and have a lunch by myself. And it's not a reflection of the fact that you're not loved by your family or your husband, boyfriend, whatever. It's just that you're okay with wanting to spend time with yourself.
the concept of
It kind of
space that we
becomes,
yeah.
yes, yes. I like that.
Okay, let me just ask you something. Let's talk about some funny incident maybe because for me loneliness has created a lot of fostered a lot of creativity in my life. Maybe I tried baking, I tried cooking, I started dancing again, painting. Has something funny ever happened to you? You tried something and while you were just by yourself.
I cut my finger really badly
Oh,
because I
really?
was by myself. Yeah. And I was like, you know what? I have so much time in my life. I'm going to learn how to cook. Okay. And my mom is giving me this YouTube instruction. And I'm like, you know what? I will do it. I watched this YouTube video. Recipe is ready. I'm excited. I'm like cooking. And slowly, I spent like good half an hour like doing all this, prep. And then when I would think I was watching the video and I was cutting and slowly I think I nipped the tip of my finger with the knife and there was blood everywhere. In like 30 seconds, I call up mom and I'm just like, Ma, there's blood everywhere. I'm going to die. And she was like, calm down. Literally like an Indian mother. She was like, calm down.
Calm down.
Put haldi. That's what she said. She goes, calm
What
down.
healthy?
Put haldi. And I'm just like, Arey, but mama, this, that, I have to go to the hospital. And she's like, put haldi. She kept
Healthy.
repeating, like, put haldi. I was just like, what is this? So I
Healthy
literally
is
went
a
like,
large
okay,
of
fine.
everything. चोट लगी है हल्दी,
Everything.
दर्द हो रही है हल्दी,
कुछ भी हो,
सब चीजों पे
हल्दी
हल्दी.
लगाओ. बस life पे हल्दी लगाओ. And I'm just like, what is this? I'm like, okay, fine. So I just put like so much haldi on my finger and I was like praying that it becomes fine. And honestly,
Yeah.
she was right. Like literally, like after like I think I slept with it with the bandage and stuff. I woke up in the morning, it was fine. It was completely fine. So I'm just like, you know what, mom is right always. That's number
Yes.
one. And
Yeah.
number
Mom
two,
is
funny
right.
things happen. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is one of the funny things that happened with me. I don't know if there's something happened that with you as well.
Oh yes, another food fiasco here also. So I was cooking. I was baking cake. First time ever baking cake. Okay? I had a lot of time on my
Oh,
hand. So I
yeah.
baked cake, followed the recipe to the T, everything. I don't know what went wrong. I found a rock that came out of the oven. I could not even cut it with a knife. I tried so hard to cut it, but I could not. So it was a chocolate rock that eventually came out to me. And I was like, okay, maybe
Here you
next
go.
time.
So moral of the story is don't cook when you're alone.
Yeah, I think for us. Yeah.
I think that's for us for sure.
Oh, this has been a good conversation, I feel, Simran. I think we spoke about the aspects that are not so light, but how we
Mhm.
can tread lightly in them. Like it's
Mhm.
okay, you can think about it and you can actually tread lightly. You don't have to make it so heavy in your heart. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I agree with you. And yeah, I'm happy we discussed this. I will say though, if you're somebody who is suffering with this for a
Yeah.
long time and you feel like, of course, this is being lonely for a while is a part of the process. And yes, you're going to
Mm.
go through it. But if you feel like you've been alone for a very long time and you feel like you're just sinking into a hole, which is just getting deeper and deeper,
Yeah.
it could be signs of like some kind of, bigger problems, bigger
Bigger
mental health
problem. Yeah.
problems.
Yeah.
And I would say, please do definitely reach out to a expert who can help you. It could be anyone who's a spiritual or non-spiritual or a mental health professional or a therapist, whoever, whatever you think would help you. please do take support, because hey, we're human beings at the end of the day, and we all need somebody. Like, you're always going to need support, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like, yeah, so you're not supposed to live your entire life, like, Isha said, all alone. Like, you need support as well. So yeah.
Yes, I think you've said it all. And thank you so
Mm.
much to everyone who's tuned in to our podcast and listening to us and sending us reviews. We love it. We are looking forward to your reviews. Thank you. Follow us on our Instagram page of Listen Up with Sim and Isha, and we'll see you in the next episode.
That's a wrap for today's episode of Listen Up with Sim and Isha. Hope you enjoyed the conversation, and make sure to like and subscribe for more. Until next time, stay tuned and listen up.